Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to my fly tying channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. So I put this channel together to share my love of salmon flies and fly tying. There's a little bit of something for everybody here. I do showcase a lot of, very artsy, very specific, hard to tie salmon flies, but I also do tie a lot of Pacific Northwest patterns, spay flies, D flies, things like that. So if you've got any flies that you'd like to see tied, something that you'd like to learn a little bit more about, by all means, please reach out to me, leave a message, comment in my videos, just leave a request. I'm happy to get to them. Now, all that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Let's get on with it. Okay, welcome back everyone. So today we are tying the Blue Doctor from the Cork collection. This one's going into my fishing box. So this one's not going to be pristine, it's not going to be perfect. It's pretty much going to look the part. So the thread I'm using is Vivis 12O in black. And we're just going to tie in here. And while I do this, I want to apologize for yesterday's confusion about the live tie. It's not my intention to get in the way of other creators that also do the same thing as me. And Jonas Anderson is a wonderful person. He's a great fly tyer and friend, and that's not something I want to take away from. So once I found out that he had a live tie going on at the same time, it wasn't even really a decision that needed to be made, whether or not to proceed or not with my tie. I just decided not to, and I'm perfectly all right with that. So we're just going to do the video as is. So the tinsel for the tip is extra small Vivis oval silver. Now, if you're not familiar with the Cork collection, go to Google and Google the Cork collection. You can either type in 1902 Cork collection or just the Cork collection, and it should pop right up. It really is an amazing collection of flies from all over Ireland and Northern Ireland, the different districts. Maybe not Northern Ireland, I'm not 100% certain. I know it is from around Ireland in the different districts. So have a look at it. As all the different districts, some of them have very similar flies, same pattern, but they're all tied in slightly different ways. So you've got different versions of Blue Doctors, Black Doctors, Red Doctors, Silver Doctors, and you've even got different Jock Scotts and Goldfinches, and it's really quite the collection of flies that they've put together. Okay, so we'll tie that up to there. In the back. Just get that out of the way. And I'm going to do maybe 4 or 5 turns of this. Now this does use light colored silks. It's going to use yellow in the tag and then light blue in the body. So using a lighter colored thread like white would have been a better option, but as you know from previous videos, my white thread is not the greatest, and I'm waiting for new white thread. I think the white thread that I had was just stored improperly, or may have been old. I'm not 100% certain. Who could say? But it shouldn't have been breaking the way it was. I never had that issue before. All right, the yellow silk I'm going to use is from 54 Dean Street. This is a very nice silk. I do enjoy it. It's a little on the thick side. but it's got a nice color to it. It does flatten out rather nice as well, so you can flatten it. And as you can see, just a couple of passes and it's already got the tech covered. Now, I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but you can split this down into as many as 4 strands. Now there you go, it just split. The tail is golden pheasant, so we'll just take a piece right off of this crest here. And I'm taking it from more of the front of the crest. You can see these smaller ones here. These are perfect for tails, especially on these smaller flies. The hook, by the way, that I'm using is a partridge bomber hook. It's a size number 2. Perfect. Now I'm just taking my flat nose pliers and pinch down the rachis at the base where I'm going to tie in. About right there. You don't want to pinch too hard because you can actually wind up pinching through the rachis and make it so delicate that it'll just break. And just use your fingernail to settle it in position. The tail veiling is an Indian crow feather, but in this case I'll be using a substitute. Here it is. I have several different subs and I like to try new ones. These ones here were sent to me from Mr. Vernon Robinson in Northern Ireland. He is a subscriber who's become a friend, and him and I have been going back and forth. And he was kind enough to share some of his Indian crow subs that he dyed. So I'm going to give these a shot. Most of these Indian crow subs that you'll see, whether it's made by David Kerr, Ryan Houston, or Mr. Robinson here, a lot of them are made from golden pheasant, or excuse me, ringneck pheasant neck feathers, the white feathers. So it's hard finding proper sized ones. You just kind of have to strip them down a little bit, as you can see I'm doing here. And strip them down to the size that you need. But I prefer to find some smaller ones if I possibly can. Just a little big. The butt on these is made from red Berlin wool. And they come in these cards like this. I get this from Feathers MC. I think it's like $14 and you get a whole variety of colors. It's not just one card. I'm not sure what his stock looks like. I've had this bag and this one card for over a year and I've barely touched it. So it's a great value. But when you get the wool, you'll see it's got several different strands. You can just pull one right out and strip that one right down and just pull it apart just like this. And make it so that way it's similar to a very fine dubbing. Now if you can't find the Berlin wool, you can use like knitting yarn or something similar to that, but the Berlin wool is a bit finer, whereas the knitting yarn is a little thicker. But it'll still serve the same purpose if treated the same way. And you want to put this onto your thread quite sparingly. Less is more. You don't want to have a huge thick butt. A little extra color isn't bad, but they're not meant to have these big giant thick butts. And that'll do just fine. The ribbing is going to be also Vivus, and that's going to be medium silver oval. And I'm going to take that and tie that in all the way up to the return, the eye return as well right here, just as I did with the other tinsel. Put that on the quartering of the way side. Now the body on this is blue silk, and the silk that I'm using is Chinese mulberry silk. So when you buy the mulberry silk, I found it on Etsy. It comes on these wooden spools like this. I think it works out to be about $1 a spool, and the amount that you get on there is pretty impressive. It's a nice value. It is twisted. I don't know, I'm not sure if the camera picks that up, but it is twisted, so you do have to do a little untwisting to flatten it. If you're going to use it for, say, a framed fly, you can go with that. For a fishing fly like this, smoothness is not necessarily paramount, so I'm going to switch the bobbin really quick. This one seems to be fraying this just a little bit too much. This mulberry silk is also a 2-strand, so if you wanted to wrap by hand, you could. All you'd have to do is just pull off your length and then strip it and separate it into 2 strands. But it's relatively thin as is, so I'm going to grab the hackle quick, which is also a light blue. This is one that I dyed. The color, it doesn't quite match the floss, but I thought I'd give it a shot. See how it looks on the fly. with me, just making a brief selection here. Okay, and I'll show you when we'll tie in the hackle and how. Hackle is going to be tied in at the second turn, which is the second turn of tinsel. So if you want to lay out your tinsel, if you're not sure about, where you want to tie it in, you can lay out your tinsel like this, figure out, okay, this is where my second turn is, and you're good to go. So we'll tie it in about right here. I'll show you how I do that. So first you just work your way back with the silk. You can see these little gaps in the silk, that's okay. You're going to fill those in on the way back. Plus you'll also have tinsel and hackle going over it. Now again, if this was for a frame, I would pay attention to those things and make sure that you're really getting all those gaps filled in nicely. As you can see, going all the way back again, already it looks better. So now we're about the point for tying in the hackle. So we'll take the hackle and start pulling the fibers back, kind of splaying them out a bit. Now this hackle does seem to have much longer fibers and much less of a taper, which is somewhat okay with me actually, because I kind of feel like that would create, again, more movement in the water. So I'm perfectly alright with having a minimal taper. And then just use the silk as you would thread to tie in your hackle, and tie that in right on top, so that way when you're wrapping your tinsel will cross right in front of that, and that can continue on with the tinsel. And go on forward. That was a mistake. Okay. Sorry, no mistake on the fly, just something I was doing off camera. So now I'll tie back in, clip away the silk. Again, fishing fly, no need for burnishing, no need for smoothing, as long as the fish will take it. Right in front of that hackle. And we can tie off on that 6th turn. I know I've mentioned this in past videos, but please have a set of scissors that you have specifically for trimming your tinsel. It will ruin your good scissors so fast. And now, since all of this is already splayed out, you can take this and use the rotary function. Kind of pull this hackle back. Take those wraps back off, otherwise you're building up unnecessary bulk. A couple extra wraps. And that's tied off, so you can now pull all that right back. A couple more wraps, keep that nice flow backwards. The throat is Eurasian Jay. So now Eurasian Jay is kind of that's a different material. If you don't have jay, you can use guinea fowl dyed a blue, a Eurasian Jay blue. I'm going to find some with fibers here that are long enough. I think that's good. Now with jay, you don't want to tie the whole feather in. You want to split the feather. You'll actually split the stem down the middle. I do have a video on this. I'll try to link it, but for some reason whenever I link it, the links never work. But if you'd like, I can do another video on this and show you exactly how to do this. I'm going to do it a little bit off camera, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's split. So what you do is you put the base of the feather into the vise, and then you grab the very absolute tip that you possibly can, and then just start to pull them evenly to the side. And then as you do that, the stem will begin to split. And by splitting the stem, you're making it much thinner and easier to tie in. So after you've split it, it'll look like this. And then you can continue to split it. And now you have a nice thin stem with all your blue, beautiful jay feathers, or fibers. So then you take those and you splay those out very gently. They'll stand right out for you. And then we'll tie that in at the very tip. You always tie the jay in with the color side facing you. And if it's a left side feather, you're going to wrap counterclockwise. Basically the opposite that I'm doing right now with the thread. So this one will go backwards. And you want to keep these feather fibers as parallel to the hook as you can. The more parallel you can keep them, the better the result of your throat will be. You can tie that off. Sometimes you need a second jay feather to thicken up the throat, but I think this one's going to be okay. And let's give it a nice firm pinch. Most of the time jay will just stay right where it is. Alright. The wing starts off with tippets in strands. So let's see if this is long enough fibers. No. Alright, so you pardon me, you take your GP tippets and strip away anything that doesn't have any barring on it. Both sides. And then you'll take some of these fibers here, take a nice little pinch. Not like that. Make sure you hold them nice and firm and strip them away from the stem. And you can tie that in right away if you like. Or put one wrap on it to hold it in place. Grab the other side, do the same thing. Match it up on the opposite side. And it's okay if the fibers stand up a little bit like that. They'll get pushed down more when you put the wing on. So let's head over and let's build the wing real quick, and then we can come back and we can put the wing on top. Okay, so for the wing, we got three colors, and I'm using goose this time, not turkey. Goose will have a little bit better movement in the water. It's a little bit less stiff than turkey is. It's quite similar to swan, actually. Swan is softer yet, but goose works very well. So we've got three colors. We've got a Dr. Blue. I do have some other blues, but I think they're a little on the dark side for what I'm trying to accomplish. So you can see the difference in these. Dr. Blue is a little bit lighter, and the silk that I'm going to be using I think matches that more than it does this. I mean, they're both close. The silk is kind of in between, but this one's for the water anyway. So anyway, so here's what we're going to do. For the wings on these, they don't have to be specific. We're just going to use some strips of blue. I'll probably take a few of these longer ones too. And then take some of these here. Now this fly is being a size 2. These here are going to be close on length. I was just checking the length on the hook just to make sure that it was going to fit right. But being a mixed wing, you know, it's not like you have to worry about the taper and the tips lining up or anything. And you'll see why in just a moment. And one thing I've been very good at is losing my tweezers. So, now before we separate those, we'll do the yellow and the red. Now these flies were designed to have less color and more natural colors. So you also don't really need left and right. When it comes to the mixed wings, you can do either or. You can do all left, you can do all rights. I like to do both just because I'm used to it, and it kind of balances the fly out. And you'll see what I mean when we put it all back together on the hook. You also don't need to count the number of fibers. It really doesn't matter that much. Alright, so those are our colored fibers. And then we're going to use some golden pheasant tail. Now these tail feathers I bought them off of eBay. The guy had, it was kind of one of those deals of, you know, you buy 5 feathers for X amount of dollars. It was supposed to be affordable and they looked nice, but they actually turned out to be not great for married wings. As you can see, the fibers are just kind of, yeah, they're not the best feathers, but they're great for mixed wings, and this is exactly why, because all you do is you just use the fibers and you pull them apart. So I also like to use a lot more golden pheasant than I do the actual colors, and that'll give all that natural color that these flies usually have in the wings. And depending on the size, you can use the shorter side as well for your smaller flies, size 4s and 6s and so on. Okay, so that's a start. And then what we do is we'll separate these out into kind of a few piles. Nah, we'll do 4. 4 looks good. And again, they don't have to be neat. They don't have to be, all the fibers don't have to be the same size, but the tips, the very tips of the slips, those do need to be lined up all along here. I try to keep the curvature of them the same as well, so they're all curving in the same direction. Chances are they'll get messed up when you put it all together, but it's not imperative that they're all curving the same way. My OCD, I guess, kind of likes that. I don't really have OCD, just a... Okay. So we'll line all those up. I'll do the same over here. Doesn't have to be 4. You can do piles of 3. You can do piles of 5. It'll all get brushed out in the end, so it'll wind up, the color will wind up much thinner anyhow. And you notice I'm kind of mixing the colors in together. I'm not separating them all out into their own piles. This may actually be a little bit too much color, but I'm going to be using these for steelhead, not salmon. We don't have Atlantic salmon in my river here. There are some. There's a very, very, very small wild population. They usually run in the fall, oddly enough, but these will be going for steelhead. So I want to have a little bit more color in them anyway. I think these are going to be a little short. So, let's see. Let's try these from farther up the tip. And you notice farther up the tip of the feather, you can see right here, it doesn't have the mottling as much as it does along the main body of the feather. As you can see here, these came from the main body and the base. You see how even clipping it off, it's just in pieces already. Which again is perfectly fine, especially for a mixed wing. If you have a couple of fibers that have some broken tips, that's okay. It's going to a fish, it's not going on the wall. Okay, so now we'll take these bundles, these little piles that we've made, and we'll just kind of slowly push them together. And now you'll have these little bundles here. Now if you look at this one, you'll see that some of these are a little bit shorter than the rest. You can change that. You can just grab them, pull on them a little bit. Then we'll do the same with the other. We'll take a look at that. That one looks good. And then you just take these and put them together. Now that's the majority of the mixed wing. That'll be most of your color. But then what we're going to do is add some more. A little more golden pheasant. This will give it more of that natural color that we want, and it'll also give it a bit more volume to that wing. So one side. They don't have to stay married. It's perfectly fine if they come apart. So don't get frustrated if they do. Per bundle, put that on the other side. And now you have a nice natural color to it, which we then take a brush to. This is just a beard brush, nothing special. I got it at the dollar store. Pinch real tight with this because you can wind up pulling the fibers out. Brush a little bit on both sides. That'll help separate all these fibers. And now you have your mixed wing. The next components to the mixed wing are teal and wood duck. Now we could have clipped these a little bit earlier and added them in as we were doing that. For this, for the wood duck, I'm just using some scraps. Nothing special. And I'm clipping these right off of the rachis. It doesn't really matter if they come apart or not. They're going to wind up being brushed out anyways. We don't use much. There's not much that's needed for these wings. Just a few fibers. This might be a little bit much, but I'm okay with that. So we got a wood duck and our teal. No need to really marry them together. Now the feathers themselves, you'll notice they have a natural curvature. Match that curvature with the wing. They don't have to go on. This is the wrong side. Need a little scrap piece of wood duck here. You can put the teal on top, you can put the teal on bottom. Once it gets brushed into the wing, it's all gonna kind of mix together anyway. So I'll pick up the wing bundle. And we want these to be about as long as the wing. I think I'm actually going to thin out this wood duck a little bit. Just took one fiber off. And take that, put that on the other side. And this is our wing. And we'll go ahead and put this, we'll head right over and get this put onto the fly. And then we can add in the roof and the sides in just a moment. But that's it. That's building a mixed wing. It's not terribly difficult. You can take a brush to this if you like. And there you are. If you feel like there's too much angle to it, you can change that very easily by loosely pinching here. And when you pinch here, rotate your fingers. Just rotate like that, and that'll pull the top fibers back just a little bit. It should look a little bit messy and disorganized, and but neat at the same time. There you are. All right, let's head over and get it on the hook. Okay. Now we've got our wing put together. So I'll take the bundle of everything that we put together here. And we'll set this right up top here, in line with the tail and the underwing. I like to do 2 gentle wraps. And a couple J fibers that are getting in my way here. 2 gentle wraps, and then just let it kind of settle. And when you add your 3rd, you can add more tension. 4th, a little more tension still. Okay. Let's have a quick look. I like that. Alright, so now I'm going to use a generous amount of Celire clear. This will help kind of get everything stuck together, and it'll prevent from all pulling apart when it's in the water and being casted. Oh no. Not sure how many of you just saw that, but that just went right down the bobbin tube. So I'll be cleaning that bobbin tube later today. I don't know if that's even possible to clean. I can't use very many solvents. Oh well. These things happen, I suppose. Just have to be more careful. Alright, so now that we've got all that on there, we're going to let that set. And once that's set up, we'll be back to complete the fly. So for you, that should be about 3, 2, 1. Alright, it looks dry now. Just twisting the throat up a little bit, trying to get that flight back a little bit more. Okay, so next is the roof, which is bronze mallard. Again, we're just taking slips off of a feather tip. These are going to be a little bit thicker. I like to use just a bit more, maybe about a third of the wing. There we are. Same for the other side. The cheeks are kingfisher. I'm going to strip some of that fluff off the base. Be very careful because you can just pull that stem right off of the base of that. And for the other side. And now we can go ahead with the horns, which are just some blue and gold macaw tail. I'll take one piece from each side of the feather. I'm going to tie these in just a hair longer than the tail. Just personal preference. Thread's a little boogered towards the end here due to that wire going down the tube on the bobbin. That's of course going to make my head a little on the large side. There we are. Good enough for me. We'll hit it with a tiny bit more Solaya. Just to get those horns, kingfisher, and roof kind of set in there. Then we can brush that roof out after we've created our head. I'll brush the wings completely and we'll get everything all sitting nice. Let's just let that dry. Back in a second. Alright, let's trim this up and get this head on. I know there's plenty of other sharp scissors out there on the market, but if you're in the market for a good pair of sharp scissors, these Anadromous scissors really are something. I used Dr. Slicks for a very short period of time on the channel, and those were dull within a month. Time for a fresh blade. Another really nice pair of scissors is Copter scissors. I do have a pair of those. I don't have them out and ready to show, but they're a very sharp scissor. They're a small, very well pointed scissor. However, I find for those with larger fingers like myself, it's a little difficult getting your fingers into the holes. They're a little bit uncomfortable. Other than that, they are a great sharp scissor. Okay. I've already got plenty of Solaya on there, but I'm going to add some wax, some tires wax. This is Bill Bailey's wax. I get it from feathersmc.com. And all I'm going to do is just heat up a little spot on this ball here. And just get a little bit onto my bodkin. And once it's on here, carefully using a lighter, I'll heat that up and melt that, and then add that to the front right here. That'll keep all your materials together right there. Allow you to put on your wool head, and then you'll be able to also add a little bit of black lacquer without having that black lacquer leach all the way in. But be very, very careful with the black lacquer. Use just a dab on there. if you're going to use it, because it does leach very, very easily. Alright, so to build a wool head, we'll just wrap forward a little bit. And then from there, we'll use the same red yarn that we used before, or in this case, wool. And just as sparingly as you did with the butt on this. Get that onto your thread. And you're going to wrap it backwards towards the wing of the fly. Need just a little more. Head's a little bit large, but I don't mind that. Again, I'm going to the river, so I don't think the fish are really going to mind all that much. Excuse me. And then lastly, I'll use just a very thin coat of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails on the thread here. That's basically just a clear nail polish. You can get it at the dollar store, Walmart, or any place like that. Do a quick whip finish, and you do the whip finish behind the head, and try to tuck the thread underneath the wool as you do it. Away your thread. Now we can do a little bit of housekeeping. So roll the throat in your fingers just a little bit like this, and that J should line right up. Yeah, you might have a few scragglers here that might stick out a little bit, but there we go. And take your brush. Run that right through that wing, over that mallard, back side. And here you have the Blue Doctor from the Cork collection, ready to go fishing. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun for me. I've got a few of these already tied up and ready to go. Hope you guys give it a try. It looks like a really good pattern not just for salmon, but steelhead as well. My home river, they love blue, so that's kind of why I went with this. And I don't know, maybe the head can imitate some sort of egg or something, but yeah, it was a fun fly to tie. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for coming along on the journey from the beginning of the channel to now. And for those of you that have just joined, there's lots more to come. So if you've got any requests, by all means, shoot me a message, leave it in the comment section below, or reach out to me on Instagram or on Facebook. That being said, hope you all have a wonderful night. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.